Hello everybody, I'm Mike Levitt, and today we are going to talk about the giants of the software stack. Now, these are the people on whose shoulders we all stand when we do information tech work, and it is very similar or analogous to the abstraction diagram that I keep drawing, where you've got hardware at the bottom, and you've got an OS, usually some sort of virtual machine, and apps. Well, these layers correspond interestingly to the people who innovated the layers. And there's tons of people behind the hardware, but when you go looking for the father of the modern computer, the persons on whose shoulders most things are going to say we stand is an individual named Alan Turing. So I have to draw him really wide here because he's the base. So you've got Alan Turing, who was a code breaker from the UK during World War II, who helped break the Nazi codes and help us win the war. But he also defined what a modern computer consisted of. Tons other people could be drawn here, but for simplification we put him. The next layer up, I would like to talk about the industry collaboration between General Electric and MIT that led to Multics, but really there's two other guys who took the Multics work and made it meaningful for the world. And those are the next two guys on whose shoulders we all stand. These are the grandfathers of the first software layer. And well, before I draw that one, this one is Ken Thompson. I'll draw a beard. This other one is Dennis Ritchie. And we draw another beard. And Ken Thompson is the Unix guy. So he corresponds roughly to that layer. And Dennis Ritchie is the C guy. And for a lot of interesting reasons, he really does correspond to the virtual machine layer. Other discussions for that. So the next layer up is another software layer with two guys sort of mimicking or ghosting these guys. This you might call the portable OS layer here with both of these guys. I'm talking about both of them. Down here is the hardware layer. Now, for the industry to have really taken off and exploded the way it did, there's another guy standing on the shoulder here. Put his foot on his head. Got to draw each one a little smaller, so we're running out of room. But this is one of the giants here. This is Linus Torvalds. But he didn't work alone. He is, of course, the Linux. People would normally say Linux operating system, but it's not. It is the Linux kernel, which gets the machine booted. The operating system is a whole bunch of other stuff that another giant we need to draw here. He'll also stand on the head. And these guys are hand in hand, much the way Ken and Dennis are hand in hand. And this is Richard Matthew Stallman. We'll draw a beard here too. And if this is the portable OS layer, this is the free software. I'm tempted to write OS, but it's really the free software layer. And if Dennis was C, then Richard Stallman, we would probably put the GNU compiler, which stands for GNU is not Unix. And these silly self-referential acronyms that are always used in the Unix world. So the next layer up is actually where all the action happens that most people are familiar with. These would be different distros. Now that sounds very technical and outside the realm of most people. Like you would think things like Ubuntu are here. Of course they are. But also, even though it's based more on the Unix layer than the Linux layer, iOS is there, as is OS X, as is Android, and everything else that was derived from this lineage of computing, which is most things with the possible exception of Microsoft Windows as far as things that are popular today. There are other things out there like CP/M that were popular in its day, but this particular software stack has ascended to dominance. But I'm talking right now about the next layer up that I'm respinning. I have my own distro, but it's really a respin that has its own unique set of advantages that I call Levinix. Now, what is Levinix? It's getting too hard to actually draw these people in that fleshed out way. So I'm just going to go with stick figures. You got 3 stick figures here who are the next layer up of people on whose shoulders my particular work is standing. So far, this stuff down here has been everybody, but now my particular distro has is based on the work of 3 seldom heard individuals. The first one is Fabrice Belliard, and he did something called QEMU, which is taking the role of hardware. All of this will be explained later. I am abstracting away the hardware layer with a very generic x86 machine for running an extremely stripped down version of Linux, or I should say the GNU operating system. And that person is Bruce Perens. And his innovation was BusyBox for an extremely tiny version of the free operating system. I'm taking what on any other distro would be 200 megabytes and turning it into about 500K, which is a half a megabyte. It's 1/100th the size of most Linux OS distros. And then the final person, because BusyBox can't just run, you can't just plop it onto anything. You have to plop BusyBox onto a running piece of hardware. So to get QEMU to have the basic Linux on it so that the BusyBox commands have somewhere to run, the third person on whose shoulders Levinix, my distro, is standing is Robert Shingledecker. And his innovation is Tiny Core Linux. which uses BusyBox, which runs on QEMU, to get a complete running little Unix/Linux distro, it's really Linux, a virtual machine that you can do your own development on up here. So this would be us, or apps. And there's a variety of advantages here not choosing something like Ubuntu or Android as the development platform, because it's extremely generic. So generic that anything you learn programming for this particular software stack is going to be transferable across many projects today and long into the future, because it's not like this pyramid of giants is going to be rebuilt as technology advances. It's just the details here are going to be swapped in and out, and I chose a set of details that are as plain vanilla and generic as possible so that everything we learn and do here is transferable to other situations. And so there you have it. Those are the giants on whose shoulders we stand when we do our software development.